kwentong DepEd mo? I am Vernie P. Bacayo and this is my DepEd story. Gaano man kahaba ng prosesyon, sa simbahan pa rin ang uwi. I did not realize back then that this quote could give much weight to my life. Let me show you how this is linked to my DepEd story. I am one of those who didn't consider teaching among their bucket list of preferred professions. But I couldn't say no to my parents. They would prove the validity of their argument by saying, "You're born to be a teacher and fitted to become one because you used to gather playmates to your bedroom, convert it into a mini classroom, where you acted as the teacher and would prepare ahead of time colored paper ribbons and paper medals for the awarding ceremony." So I simply obeyed and respected their decision. As a fresh college graduate, I was absorbed to teach at the high school department of my alma mater, where my profession was honed. 3 years after, I got married and decided to find my luck in the DepEd. The adjustment from private to public system and culture was kind of rough since my basic education and college years were molded in a private institution as well. Within my 2 years journey with DepEd, I became overwhelmed with activities that caught me off guard. Due to my medical condition, I had to leave my work and went to Manila to gain back my health. I stayed there for good and worked there for 13 years while pursuing my graduate studies in the LSU. Later, I left overseas with my family, but since teaching is my passion and was already rooted in my system, I continued to work as a mathematics teacher wherever I settled. Those various teaching experiences from different learning institutions locally and abroad, and having colleagues as well as students of different backgrounds, cultures, and nationalities shaped me to become an even more flexible but tough. I gained additional knowledge and skills even outside my field of specialization because I did not put a limitation to my room for learning. I opened up myself not just through graduate studies, training, and seminars, but also through hands-on experiences with technologies and sports. Then we went home for good, supposedly to settle back in Manila. But I think God has a different plan for me. For when I visited my hometown, I realized that my parents were already too old to live on their own. Our ancestral home is situated just across one of the biggest high schools in the province, the school where I was teaching 22 years ago. Amazingly, looking at the school, seeing familiar faces of those who are still in the service brought a feeling of belongingness and eagerness to serve DepEd again. On the second thought, I could have applied for DepEd in Manila, but going back to this school would be hitting two birds with one stone. I could continue being a public servant, and at the same time, my parents would have companions with them at home. I chose the latter. With prayers for God's grace and guidance, I processed the application. Luckily, I was considered for a teaching position as a mathematics teacher in STEM under the senior high school curriculum. The entire year with the senior high school was productive. It has been 2 years since I went back to continue with my DepEd journey. I was able to join a national seminar on the use of graphics calculator in teaching mathematics to senior high school students. My DepEd journey is still a bit bumpy, but this tribe could not anymore spill out the glass of coffee I am holding as I go on with the trip because I could say that I have gathered enough tools I will need as I respond my calling for service to DepEd. I want to maximize the best in me, not just for my personal growth, but for the sake of service towards my students, to the school where I am serving, and to my community. The tricky part of my return to DepEd was the occurrence of the pandemic. But DepEd won't let it hinder its goals to continue providing quality education. Thus, I was grateful that I was given a chance to be a member of the conformance team in the division to share skills and potentials for the development of self-learning modules of Mathematics 7 for the region. I was also able to join the RBI radio-based instruction and the TV-based instruction team in Science 7. I am thankful to be part of an action research team focusing on mathematics instruction that qualified for the Regional Research Congress. This experience motivated me to try creating my team of mathematics teachers for another action research in this field that is aligned with the current situation to help alleviate the issues and concerns of DepEd in this new normal. Now, I could say being back to DepEd feels like home. I vowed to myself, with God's help, that I would give my services to my home with my maximum capacity and capabilities. The charming thing about home is that it feels good to leave, but it feels so much better to come back. For home is where my story began. Thank you for your time. Stay safe and God bless.